I'm Sam Legassic.
And I'm Dreadful Dan Gallagher. And we're two old buddies that have lived our life at the edge of the mainstream.
So come join us where things are a little odd. This is the
You've got to believe.
It's alive! It's loose!
This earth of yours will be reduced to a burned out cinder.
Hi everyone listening, it's ODDCAST with me, Dreadful Dan G, and as always, Mr. Sam.
Yeah. Hello.
That sounded rather unhealthy. What was happening there?
Yeah, just vomiting. Sorry. the mere sight of your face.
Oh, charming. So Sam, obviously, coming from a nice little quiet seaside town there. Relatively happy, peaceful place.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But can you imagine if one day a powerful secret criminal organisation took over?
Oh, you mean the Tories?
Okay, so you can imagine it. But imagine then if this vicious syndicate soon had control of the government and even the police force.
No.
If your city, if your town became a centre of violence and crime where no one was safe. But then, can you imagine if amid that turmoil, a group of determined young police officers swore to clean up the city, and among them were Adam Hunter, Axel Stone and Blaze Fielding. Can you imagine such a thing?
Great names.
Yeah. And if they were willing to risk anything, even their lives, on the streets of rage. That was the scrolling intro to Streets of Rage, which we'll be discussing today, the 1991 cult Sega Mega Drive or Genesis game, depending on which side of the Atlantic you're on. Simply one of my favourite games of all time. Still highly respected, highly revered, just still so much fun to play. And we thought we'd have a little talk about it. I've just completed it, so it'd be fun to talk about that, but also reminisce a bit, because I'm sure you had it back in the day, Sam.
Yeah, I remembered as I was kind of watching a walkthrough, so I didn't play it, so sorry, but towards the end, when you face some of those bosses, I started the flashes of memories started coming back. And also like the little, we'll get to obviously, but the post-credit sequence, as I was watching this, I remember this. Because it's just so like, the whole thing's cheesy in the 80s, obviously, but those things stuck out in my head for some reason in particular. Yeah. Why would you class it as an oddity, do you think? What makes it stand out? What makes it like a cult hit?
Well, what makes it odd maybe is some of the bosses that you have to fight throughout the way. Fire-breathing fatties and some serious like IP busting. There's a clear Ultimate Warrior ripoff.
Yeah.
What makes it odd? To be fair, it's not that odd, is it? Really, it's just a great beat 'em up.
I think it was like probably more on the violent side, maybe when it came in. Then. You know, it was kind of riding that wave, right? Of like the Mortal Kombats and stuff. I can't remember the timeline of all that.
Oh, this predates Mortal Kombat.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah,
so it's
significantly. It actually rode in on the crest of the Final Fight wave.
Okay.
Do you remember that game? You ever played that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So basically, well, Final Fight, it was massive in the arcades, and basically Nintendo got the license to port it to the SNES. But a lot of people didn't like that version.
Right.
It kind of, it lost a lot of the power of the arcade version. Sprites were smaller, less enemies on screen. But critically, the SNES version, there was only one player. So like the whole thing about Final Fight in the arcade is that it's a co-op.
Yeah.
So basically, Sega saw that there was this kind of, not backlash, but just a lukewarm response. And they thought, we could probably fill that gap and do something better.
Right.
So Sega at that point had already ported Golden Axe. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, good old Golden Axe, yeah.
Another classic. And you can see then they kind of like took Golden Axe and they went, let's use that engine.
Right.
And we can make something that then looks and feels a little bit more like Final Fight. And they tasked the team that made Shinobi. And they've just done Revenge of Shinobi, which is another classic kind of like game of the era. So yeah, basically they took some really good talented guys, said, here's Golden Axe, see what you can do. So basically it was worked on by, let me try and give you a few names here, directed by Noriyoshi Oba.
Okay.
And designed alongside Hiroki Chino with programmer Hiroshi Momota.
Okay.
And yeah, they just put together this fantastic looking game. To me, it's just like so, like design wise, got so much of that like 80s look of, there's like street punks, cyberpunks.
Yeah, it's great.
Everything looks a bit trashy. Everything's a bit like, there's like neon flashing. All that look and design, a lot of it, when you look at Final Fight, you can see so much is cribbed from that game. But to my mind, it's sort of like, in some degrees, done a little bit better. But both games apparently take a cue from a film called Streets of Fire.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
No.
I looked it up. Let me read you the Wikipedia entry. Streets of Fire is a 1984 American neo-noir rock musical directed by Walter Hill. I'm
oh my
like,
God, Walter Hill.
Yeah, I'm like, how have I never heard of this? How have I never seen this?
Streets of Fire. No, don't know it.
It looks
Quick look,
really
myself
cool.
again.
Like the cinema poster's really cool. It looks like a graphic novel. And if you just like Google Streets of Fire and do an image search, it's got Willem Dafoe in it, and he looks absolutely berserk.
Ripped.
No, he looks really sinister and really creepy and really weird.
Yeah.
So this film looks
yeah.
really, really
That's
cool.
weird.
I need to go back and see it. But yeah, you can see how that like aesthetic has bled through to the world of Final Fight and Streets of Rage.
Oh, we should chat this down and watch it.
Yeah, this is definitely on my list now. Oh my God, it's got Rick Moranis in it as well. I'm sold.
Yeah. Did you see Rick Moranis got jumped on by some guy the other day? It's probably about 6 months ago.
He got jumped on.
Yeah, there's like CCTV footage of
Like-
some guy
like-
just beating him up.
Christ.
Poor old Rick Moranis.
He's only little, isn't he?
He's
only little.
only little. He's come back now, hasn't he? Because he took some time off after his wife died to look after his family. And now he's starting to apparently he's going to slowly come back into, being back on the big screen, as it were. So watch out, Rick Moranis fans.
I look forward to that.
Perfect for the Streets of Rage episode.
So the game was launched first in Japan in August of 1991. Not under the name Streets of Rage. What's it called in Japan, Sam?
I don't know. What's it called?
What do you think? What could be a good alternative name for Streets of Rage?
I don't know. I'm now making cultural stereotypes here. Trying to think, what's a Japanese thing? I don't know. I'm thinking if it's going to be like a Japanese translation, it'll be like the way of the angry tenacity.
That would be great. I'd play that. No, it was called Bare Knuckle.
Oh, boring.
Quite cool. I thought. What? Maybe when they released it in the in the West, They changed the name Streets of Rage. Maybe they thought children might confuse it with a fisting game.
Fisting game?
You might think, it sounds a bit like a fisting game. Probably don't want to give that.
Name one other?
One other fisting game.
Yeah.
Kirby.
What? Talking about? I think Streets of Rage is better. I think Streets of Rage is better as well because it is personifying the location, which I think is very important to this game.
What? Well, streets.
As in, like, the Streets of Rage. Like, it almost defines it as, like, these are the Streets of Rage. Like, this is where it happens.
Yeah.
Rather than bare knuckle, which is quite generic. Like, by almost pinning it to, like, a location almost, or like a, the metaphor for a location, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's because that's one of the cool things about this game is the actual locations that you play in.
Definitely. Like, so the whole design of this game is brilliant. And yeah, we'll go through like level by level. But yeah, it's so atmospheric. And for the time and the hardware, like the animation and the design is fantastic. The other thing we haven't mentioned yet is the amazing soundtrack, which is still revered to this day, really like pushed the envelope in terms of what was viable for the Mega Drive, and for other 16-bit consoles. And that was by Yuzo Koshiro, and just a really innovative, like, and kind of forward-thinking as well, like blend of like house, techno, some like Latin kind of sounds as well. And we've spoken a bit about this before when we did the Data Discs episode, but really it kind of like was a few years ahead of its time. Like when you listen to dance music from like 92, 93, 94, you're like, wow, we heard some of these sounds first on the Mega Drive.
Yeah, I mean that intro sequence with the opening crawl.
Yeah.
And then it's like panning across the like the sun, the like kind of sunsetty kind of twilight time.
Yeah.
Cityscape or whatever. And when that music comes in, when they all like appear out the shadows, it's like Streets of Rage. I was just like, fuck, this is cool. I'm in. I'm totally in. That music's great.
It's really evocative. That it sounds a bit like the music at the beginning of like a martial arts film to me.
Yeah.
Like it's not too hectic at that point. It's kind of like settings.
It's a bit dark as well.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's the same throughout this whole game is that there's an element of like real gritty. It's just very dark, but in a good way.
Absolutely. So since you spoke there about the intro crawl, let's just pick up the conversation from there and let's go through and kind of like just talk about what you do in this game.
Yeah, let's go.
So after that screen, basically you can get a little bit of stats on the characters. So like I said, you got Adam Hunter. He's 23, an ex-cop. His hobby is bonsai.
Yeah, noticed that.
And he's an expert in boxing.
So like it's like bonsai. I wouldn't. If one of your hobbies is bonsai, I don't think it could be your number one hobby. Like you don't do it all the time. It's like watching these trees grow. You just give them a little.
I like
trimming every now and then. It's not like it's a 24/7 thing.
He's obviously like he's like a hard, tough alpha male, and that's like his little bit of like his soft side. Yeah. He's basically 99% of the time copping and boxing, and then every now and then he'll just tend to a small tree.
Well, he's an ex-cop. I mean, that's the thing. There's I mean, like, there's obviously that Japanese thing as well going on there. But like all these guys are ex-cops. So have they left the force in order to go on this illegal vigilante hunt, basically?
Yeah, let me go back. So what I was saying in the intro,
let's go back.
They basically, a group of determined young police officers have sworn to clean up the city.
Ex-cop, so they've left to do this, I imagine.
Yeah, they're tackling this on their own. They couldn't do it under the jurisdiction of the city. too much red tape.
And also corrupt police force now, by the looks of it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so cool.
So that's Adam. You've also got Blaze Fielding, a female, age 21. History, ex-cop. Hobby, lambada. And ability, judo. Lambada is a sexy dance.
Okay.
So nice bit of like typecasting here.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got Axel Stone.
Yeah.
Male, 22. History, ex-cop. Hobby, video games.
Yeah, why did they put that in for all of them? Like, okay, it's established.
Yeah. I know, they could put something a bit more interesting.
Something else. Yeah,
history,
exactly.
neglected child, or something like that.
Yeah, well, it's a bit boring.
Bit glum. His ability is martial arts.
Yes.
So this is cool. Like all three of these characters, they are very distinct. I suppose that comes from Golden Axe, right? Where you've got like the barbarian and the dwarf,
yeah, true.
and the
lady
sorceress. Sometimes, yeah. But sometimes like in games of this era, it's quite tokenistic. But here, they do all feel and play very differently. When you're making your like selection, then you get the stats come up, and basically they are all pretty equal. One's like more powerful and can jump high, but is really slow.
I was going to say, are they real things that affect the game? Because I felt like when you're playing it or watching it, you don't notice as much. It's just different moves or whatever.
No, I really notice it. So I just played through this as Axel, who's my favourite. But back in the day, I used to enjoy Adam. But he's definitely a little slower, and he kind of takes longer to do his like combos.
Okay.
Never used to play as Blaze.
The woman. It's funny that, isn't it? Because I always choose, like, whenever I do like games and it's like, create your character, I'll just do like a version of myself.
Yeah.
Like,
but as a woman,
people would be like, I'll do like pink skin and like black eyes and crazy hair. I'm like, no, I'll just make it look like me. And it's like, why do you want to do that? And I'm like, I don't know why I do it. I don't know. Like, yeah, surely I should be like in this escapist like fantasy where it's like whatever. And that's the same thing when it's like, oh, you pick a bunch, some of them, and it's like very rarely will I choose a woman just because it's like, and again, it's not a sexist thing, just because it's like I just want to choose someone who is most like me, and I don't really know why I do that, but I've done it ever since I was a kid.
You don't want to escape into another character. You just want to be Sam.
I want to be me
in another world, in a battle for the soul of the Streets of Rage.
But then I think like I don't think of things where it's like I was given the option and I chose a female, and I definitely think there have been times, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. I used to play as Chun-Li a lot in Street Fighter 2, actually.
Oh yeah,
she was good.
Well, because you could do the spinning bird kick and see her pants.
Yeah, well, it wasn't because of that. It's just, she's just pretty strong. She's pretty cool. But yeah, it's funny how it's like the classic, like young boy, I'm not going to play as a girl.
Yeah.
During that time, us as kids, I don't play as a girl. But she's, I like the fact that she was an option in the first place, and she looks cool, and she's cool. Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like, they are all equal. Like, and it just depends on what your preference is. So it's cool that you've got those different choices. Like she is definitely faster. But yeah, I kind of like Axel because he's got some good like grappling kind of holds. So like, one of the things that I love most about this game is the versatility of like your attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it's just, I find it relaxing. Like, even though I've played this game so many times, I like just wandering through, beating people up. Because you can just like punch people, but if you basically hit punch like 4 times, you'll do some kind of like combo.
Yeah.
You can grab them, in which case, if you grab them from the front, you've got them like in a headlock, and then you can like do a move on them, beat them up a bit, or you can throw them.
Yeah.
In which case you do like an overhead throw. Or if you've got them and you press jump, you will like flip over them while still holding them. And if you do an attack from that side, you can do like Axel does like a German suplex.
Cool.
Just like boff. At the same time, if you're throwing guys and they hit other villains that are coming towards you, they'll like knock them over.
Yeah, classic.
You can do like you've got a backward move for people who are like approaching you. You can do like a flying kick for Axel. It's a flying knee. That's one of the ways where he's a bit weaker. And all throughout, there's like tons of weapons and things to pick up.
Yeah, so like you got the classic like metal bars or broken bottle and things like that. I like it like towards the end of the level where you get those carts.
That's what?
Carts with you get a cart with like a silver platter thing on when you get to like the penthouse bit, and you can just like you can just push them.
Yeah. The best thing, I like the bottle because when you get it, it's unbroken, and you literally just like smash it over someone's head.
Yeah,
and then you've got this like jagged one. Stitch that, Jimmy.
It's I always think like the idea of bottling someone or having a smash bottle is always like, oh, it's just horrible. And something about a pipe is horrible in its own way, but something about having like a sharp. That's why I always think like, you know, knifing people. It's like knife crime. It's like knifing's the worst.
Yeah, I
think I'd rather get shot than knifed.
Yeah, the idea of something sort of being inserted. I think it's a deep psychosexual terror.
Maybe, yeah.
That's what's fun, though, about Streets of Rage. Because in your normal day-to-day life, Sam, you know, I mean, you just wouldn't do these things, would you?
What?
You wouldn't walk along and pick up a brown bottle and stick it in the face of a shrieking prostitute.
No, that was Sutton when all the clubs closed.
Yeah. Those days are dead and gone.
Yeah.
But can you imagine, like, if you did some of the things that these lads and lasses get up to in this game in real life? Like, you wouldn't walk up to a big fat fire breathing man and just like punch him in the belly 10 times till he fell over.
Well, if he's coming at me, I guess that's the thing. These guys are just like these bad guys wandering around, minding their own business. And then you're like, oh, we're going to have to beat this guy up.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's always the same same people.
Yeah.
Like, I remember watching it when I was watching it through. It's like there's not much variation as you go through the game with like just the general bad guys.
That's
like,
true.
Which is a bit annoying. Like the bosses, yeah, okay, it's a bit of that. And sometimes they like change colour or whatever, but essentially it's the same fucking thing again and again.
That's true. That is true. And that, I suppose, would be a criticism. Like I said, I just find it so enjoyable, that gameplay. To me, it's almost like playing Tetris or something. I'm like, just keep the blocks coming. Just keep those bad guys coming, and I'm just going to keep beating them up. So should we go basically level 1?
Yeah.
Which, so none of this is named, but I think in the booklet for Bare Knuckle, they do name the levels and the bosses.
Okay.
So the first one is City Street, which is
pretty self-explanatory.
Pretty self-explanatory. And we kick off with a really iconic piece of music. So here's a little bit of music from that level, and it's called Fighting in the Street. Yeah, so this level, I think, just really nice for like establishing basically your move set, getting you in the game. But it looks, I think, amazing. It is everything. To me, it looks like really late 80s. You know, this is like 1991, but to me, it's like late 80s B-movie, trash, exploitative, kind of like I said, like cyberpunks, and you've got all these like neon signs and things.
Yeah, also like if you look, all like the cars and the trash cans are all like dirty and grimy, and there's a lot of alleys which all look menacing.
Yeah,
in
nice
themselves. And it feels like gritty, which is kind of the point, right?
And I'd like to go into bar Le Divo.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Funny that. Just talking about them.
We see the like first few enemies, and I was playing Streets of Rage 2 as well before I played this.
Right.
And I was surprised, actually, how this is a little bit harder, I think, Streets of Rage. Okay. These guys, these like street punks with the ginger hair.
Yeah.
In Streets of Rage 2, they just kind of like wander over to you and you just punch them in the face. But they're a bit more intelligent in this game.
Okay.
Like they will punch you and they take quite a lot of your health if they get a few jabs in. So
be careful.
I was like, bloody hell, like straight away, I was like, I'm in trouble. Conversely, the other guys that are kind of like a yellowy colour, punks, you never see their face. They've kind of like got their back to you.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They've got like a pink mohawk. They're really easy. They're super easy to beat up.
I like how you've got basically the dominatrixes. And I'm guessing they're supposed to be like prostitutes with their whips or whatever. Yeah. Why would I guess it's supposed to be prostitutes? But just in that it's like all like sexual and they're on the streets, I guess, is where I've always just thought that that's what they were doing. But you get enough of them and it's just like, fuck, they can fuck you up with that annoying attack.
Yeah, and they're quite difficult because once you kind of hit them a few times, they fall to the floor and they won't get up if you're hovering around.
Right.
So it can be quite frustrating. You might just like get one hit and then you're like waiting for them to get up. You have to walk to the other side of the screen, walk back, hit them again. They're like, go back down again. And they've got that horrible shriek, really shrill.
Yeah.
What else is fun on this level? You can pick up an iron bar and basically smash your way through loads of telephone boxes. That's really cool. One of my favourite things about Streets of Rage is this. When you eat an apple.
Eating the health.
Nothing more satisfying. So basically, when you get to the end of this level, we get our first boss fight.
Yeah.
And you'll see there's a piece of meat on a plate, which in my head, I always think of as turkey. I don't know why. I was like, don't get the turkey.
I always think of it as chicken, but then I think, I don't really know why. I think also part of it was to do with, I remember in the Tekken series, it used to be like, chicken. And you used to pick up a chicken to eat. But it looks like a cartoon, isn't it? Like an old school cartoon, like bit of meat on bone. But I don't really know what it's supposed to be.
It's exactly the same design as in Final Fight.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's when you go back and look at Final Fight, actually the plagiarism involved in Streets of Rage is pretty shocking.
What's that meat then? What's it supposed to be?
I don't know. Maybe it's a ham hock.
Okay.
But obviously, when you eat that, it gives you your full health back. So I'd always remember playing this and being like really anxious. Like you don't want to eat it until your life's at its lowest. But at the same time, you're like
tactical.
Yeah, and then you're like just avoiding the boss, and then he just like hits you, and you're like, no, I should have eaten the meat.
Why did I eat it? Yeah.
Or when you're playing 2-player with someone who hasn't played the game before, and they're just like, oh great, I'll get that. And you're like, no. You stupid idiot. The boss here, do you care to have a stab at what his name could be? He's a funny-looking fella.
Yeah, he's really weird. He's like, he's bigger than you for a start. He's like, his stance is weird. Like he's doing so like the Mexican, like, like, yeah. And he's got like a knife or something in his hand, doesn't he? So I don't know.
I think it's a boomerang.
Oh, that's right. It's a boomerang.
It's a boomerang.
Right, yeah, which is just ridiculous. What's he? Oh, he'd probably be called like Sneaky Phil or something like that.
Apparently, he's called Antonio.
Right.
Antonio. I always think what's funny with this
Australian boomerang.
He's got tiny little legs. But his only other attack other than the boomerang is to like come and kind of kick your ass. And when he kicks you, it takes loads of your life. So it's like
those little legs,
those little tiny stumpy little legs. Anyway, he's not too much of a challenge. So batter him. At this point in the game, it's a good opportunity to use your special attack. So that's worth mentioning. All of this game, most of it's played on 2 buttons. and the A button is reserved for a special attack, and you call in backup from the police, your erstwhile colleagues. And you can only use it once, basically for every life you get.
Oh, okay.
So if you die, make sure you use it before you die, and then when you come back, you get another one.
Right.
Okay. But yeah, depending on the character, it's like I think for Axel, it's like a rocket launcher, but I think some of the other characters, he turns up with a minigun.
Oh, really? I've only seen the rocket launcher one, which is just like, and it's like a circle of fire, basically.
Basically, yeah, it's like an airstrike, does a lot of damage. So they're it's a cool little mechanism, and they would do away with that in Streets of Rage 2.
Right.
Instead, A was like a special attack, and if you spammed it too much, it would like kill your life.
Oh, really?
Yeah, every time you used it, it took a little bit of your life bar off.
Brilliant.
So that was quite a good innovation. But I kind of like that thing from the first game.
Yeah.
Second level, Inner City.
Yes.
Any thoughts on this one?
Describe it to me.
Basically, you're in a really trashy part of town, so you don't have the bright lights and neon anymore.
Right.
It's just a really like rough part of town. There's like some seedy posters. And
who's the boss for this one?
Who's the boss? A guy called, well, hang on, I won't tell you. Let me describe him to you.
Okay, go on, describe it.
But before we get there, basically, I think you get a few new enemies here. You get this guy who juggles fire.
Right.
Remember him?
Yeah, vaguely.
Oh, he's a right pain in the ass, because if you try and punch him, he's just like, oh, you get set on fire. So you have to kind of like, wiggle your way around him, maybe chuck a knife at him, that kind of thing. And I think so. Maybe in this level, or is it the next? You start to get, or maybe it's the next level. You start to get these like martial arts guys that can jump around quite a lot.
That comes later, doesn't it?
Yeah, maybe that's the next level. Basically, at the end of this one, you get a guy who he's got very blonde hair, some smashing blue overalls over a red shirt, and he's got claws on his hands.
Yeah, this guy. Yeah.
What do you think he could be called?
Razor.
He's called Souther. I feel like something might have been lost in translation there.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, he was. I don't remember him being particularly tough, but he was a bit more annoying, if I remember rightly.
I think that's a fair way of putting it. Yeah. He's not too hard to beat, as long as you don't approach him from the front. If you do, he just like slashes you to ribbons with his claws. But yeah, he's all right. Level 3.
He's all right.
He's all right. Level 3 is the beachfront. So again, really cool. Like you're getting kind of these different settings. This reminds me of like California Games.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. It's nice. I like this level. I can remember this one. I don't remember the last one. I don't know why, but where it's it literally looks like a Miami beach. Yeah, as you said, California beach, and I think that's because this is where the Ultimate Warrior comes as a boss, like as if it's supposed to be like Muscle Beach,
right?
The guys are just working out. If it's something to do with that, but this is where you start seeing like the skyline in like a very beautiful like haze. And I like this level.
Yeah, it's nice to look at, isn't it? Like you've got the city in the background, these palm trees, a bit of surf at the front of the screen.
Yeah.
And really nice, like the music changes here. It's a bit more like upbeat and a bit more like funky and disco. It's not quite as dark as the other levels.
Yeah, a bit brighter.
Like you say, you kind of make your way through, and some more of these prostitutes.
Yeah.
More of these punks. And yeah, you get the rip-off Ultimate Warrior.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Has he got? Have they given him a name then?
All right, what's he called? Abadede.
What?
Abadede.
Right.
He can be quite challenging at first because he just like rushes in and batters you. But kind of when you play it a few times, you learn the pattern and how to kind of like avoid him. I like when you actually attack him. He suddenly looks like quite a bit he's kind of a bit fat. Like he goes oof, and his face looks really bloated. Ooh.
Steroids.
Yeah, he gets roid bloat.
Yeah.
Next level, bridge.
Boring. It's a boring one. I don't mind the background of seeing the city or whatever, and it's like, okay, an element of travel, but you've got those like massive gaps in the road, right? Which you've got to kind of be careful of. And it's just a bit, I don't know, it's a bit plainer, a bit more bleh.
Yeah, it's a bit plainer. I like those holes though, because again, it gives you like a bit more opportunity for mischief, because you can like punch guys till they fall into it or throw them in there, which is fun. Rather than killing them, you just like chuck them in a hole. Especially because you get another one of these like fire juggling guys, and they do take a while to kill. So if you can just like somehow maneuver till he's right in front of that hole, and then just like smash him with a baseball bat,
give him a kick,
problem solved.
Yeah.
And you get some of these martial arts guys. I think they get tougher as the game goes on, because on this level they're not too hard to kill, but I think later on they're a little bit more tricky.
Yeah.
And when you get to the end, you get one of my favourite bosses.
Which one is it?
He's the fatty fire breather.
Oh yeah, the like football hooligan thug.
Yeah. It's a bit like Buster Blood Vessel.
Yeah. Why do you like him so much?
I just find him amusing. I also like the fact that if you try and do your like throw on him, your back will give out and he crushes you, which is fun. And it's quite easy to like accidentally do that. This guy, you kind of like have to beat him more by like punching him. And sometimes as you're punching him, you'll naturally grab him. And if you're still hammering punch, you'll try and pick him up and then just go.
Right. Anti-spam, literally.
This guy's name, his official name, Bongo.
God's sake.
Bongo, there he is.
After Amadeus or whatever in the last one.
Abadebe.
Yeah.
And again, he's not really all that challenging. I think for me, things get a little tougher on this next level, which is aboard ship.
Yeah. It's weird, this one, because it's why are you on a ship? Like, where are you going?
These aren't the streets of rage.
Yeah. But I quite enjoyed, again, you got the nice cityscape in the background. But yeah, I think here was probably where I was starting to, die, I guess.
Yeah.
As you said.
I think this was the first level where I lost a life.
Right.
Just because there's such a stream of these goons that you have to beat. And you get a lot of them coming all at once. Some of these guys, like the standard ginger hair guys, you get a bunch of them all carrying knives. Yeah. They're really annoying because they just sort of like rush and crisscross the screen. And if you're in the way, you're just like...
Yeah, vaguely remember that.
And you have to be a bit strategic here. You like try and hold on and get to a piece of meat. Is the way to kind of like get through it without losing any lives. And this is the one where you also start to get like mid-level bosses. So guys that you've already beaten.
Yeah, come back.
And you're like, oh, this is the boss again. But it's not. It's just like a mid-level challenge. So we get the Ultimate Warrior again. We're here wearing a rather sexy green little number.
Nice.
I like the way they use this boat setting, and you have those martial arts guys actually like jumping. They come from like out of the side of the boat, as if they've been hanging onto the side, and they all come like spinning onto the deck out of nowhere.
That's nice.
It's a fun little bit of design. And when you get to the end, the main boss, I don't know what, like the twins, let's call them.
Right, it's just the two women.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember them being tough.
Really tough. They're basically like replicas of Blaze. And actually on this level, I didn't have too much trouble with them. I think I definitely lost a life to them. but when we see them next time, they're really, really hard.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people struggle with this, and I realised if you're struggling with this, you can, again, it's all about identifying the patterns of what they do. One of them, they're not identical. One of them is kind of like a kicker, and the other one's like a grappler. And as long as you don't try and like approach the grappler, because she will grab you and wrestle you.
Right.
And as long as you don't try and like do flying kicks on the kicker, then yeah, you should be able to get through this.
Right. Be able to figure it out. Okay.
You have to tailor your attack to each one. So at that point, you're probably a few lives down, and you come to a factory, level 6.
Factory. Yeah.
Now this one, again, you're not on the streets. This isn't Streets of Rage.
It's a factory of annoyance.
Yeah. Fear Factory.
Yeah, I like the Fear Factory. I like this one in the sense of kind of like what you were saying about the bridge, but I don't know. I feel like it's a bit more joyful, I guess, a bit more enjoyable here. With all like the pistons being able to crush you and stuff, it has a bit more of an added zing to the gameplay.
Yeah, I love that as well, and the fact that you can goad your enemies in. So as long as you avoid it, you can be like, "Come and get me," and then it gets stamped. That's really, really satisfying. You've also got these like travelators running in different directions.
Classic.
Yeah, just a nice little bit of variation in the gameplay. And here you get, basically it's a bit strange actually. So you get a mid-level boss, which is our fat friend again.
Yeah.
And then the end of level boss is basically that guy, the Salver character, who was the level 2 boss, but there's 2 of them.
Right.
At this point, I'd start to feel a little bit cheated.
Yeah, I mean, this is a problem. They're just literally reusing assets, characters, because they can't be bothered to think of any new ones. And this is kind of my main gripe, as I was saying, with like the characters, the general, bad guys that kind of come and get you. They don't change. And then, they're just reusing. Because they do it again in the final level, which I know we'll come to. It's just like, ugh, these people again. Like, fucking hell. I have someone new.
Yeah, I agree. It's a bit exhausting at this point. So once you've beaten those 2 guys, level 7 is the freight elevator.
Yes, it's cool.
And this is difficult because you're just in basically you're on an elevator. And so there's nowhere to go. There's no bonuses to pick up, no extra health or food. You just got to get through all these guys that come flying at you.
Yeah, it reminds me of like, it's a bit of a gaming trope, like the elevator level, especially with like people attacking you. Like Metal Gear Solid has a really good one. Resident Evil 2, that has a good one. And there's something about it which is like when things are on an elevator, just the fact that it's, I don't know, like you'll feel like you're going somewhere. It's also a bit mysterious. And also there's an element of like, this is going on forever.
Yeah.
Like, the longer it takes, the more your mind, it doesn't function to your mind. It's like, how fucking big or deep or whatever does this place go?
Yeah, I was getting anxious towards the end of this. Just like, when the hell are we going to get to the top of this building?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's good though.
What I like is that, again, you don't have to actually kill all these bad guys. You can chuck them over the edge.
Yeah.
So, again, that's really satisfying when you like grab one and just like, huh? And you see them go bouncing off over the side to their death. But essentially we're going up the side of the building, which is the building that Mr. X, who's the head of this like crime syndicate, that's where he's hanging out.
Yeah.
So we're really sniffing the end here, Sam.
Yeah, we're getting close.
There's no boss on this level. It's probably a wise thing considering that we've already used them all up.
Yeah.
Basically, you just get to the top and you go into the like penthouse suite. And so that's the final level, stage 8, Syndicate Headquarters.
Yeah. which is fine. It's like classic, standard, bad guy penthouse style looking place. But yeah, this is kind of, for me, I don't know. It's like they just threw everything at the wall. It's like every single boss comes back.
Yeah.
Basically. And at once as well, at one point. And it's like, yes, this is just too much by now.
Yeah, well, I kind of like that. Like when I started this level, the music here gets a lot slower and it feels quite dreadful. I really like that. There's also something stoic. You really feel like, okay, you're just walking down this like very plush looking corridor and it's just bad guy after bad guy, but you really feel like I'm going to my final destiny now.
Yeah, true.
I really like that drama of it. And you really feel like, I was like, oh my God, like all these challenges that are coming at me. And it's like another boss. And you've like got through the whole game, like with all your lives pretty much, and picking up a few extra ones. And this is where you start to really see them being depleted.
Yeah.
You're like, all that hard work I put in across the whole game, and now it's just like pouring out of me.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it does feel like that final sprint to the end.
Yeah, I feels very dramatic to me. The innovation here is, like you said, those dining carts come like crashing towards you. You have to beat up every single person. And then eventually you get to the like doors behind which behind which you presume is going to be like, the office of like Mr. X. But at that point you have to fight bloody those twins again.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I got through all the other bosses, no problem. But these two,
Twins are tough.
They're harder than they were on the other level. And they just will like drain all your lives. And like, I think I even got through like a continue as well, like trying to get through them. A bit of a nightmare. So make sure you come into that with a lot of life. And then in you go. And this is one of the coolest things, I think, in a beat 'em up of the era. Mr. X says, well, you found your way here. Would you consider becoming my right-hand man? And he's sitting there, all Billy Big Bollocks, on his big golden throne, and he looks really intimidating. And you literally have a choice here. You can say yes or no.
Yeah.
And if you say yes...
Yeah, what happens? Because I only pick no.
If you say yes, he's basically like... I can't remember what he says, but he basically laughs in your face and like pulls a lever and a trapdoor opens and you go back to the factory level.
Oh, fucking hell. That would be so annoying.
Oh, can you imagine how heartbreaking that would be?
Jesus Christ.
Obviously, if you say no, then you have to fight him. What's really good fun is if you're in 2-player mode.
Yeah.
If one of you picks yes and the other picks no, you have to fight each other in a battle to the death.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
And if you're, let me get this right. I think if you say yes and you beat your other previous colleague's death, and you then go on to beat Mr. X, you get a special ending.
Right.
Because you've kind of chosen the evil path.
Okay.
When you beat Mr. X, you become the new head of the crime syndicate.
Brilliant.
However, if you just go the standard route, so this is what I did. He offered me to become his right-hand man. I said, no way. I haven't gone this far. I'm a man of integrity.
Yeah.
I like
computer
games.
I think you'd have a problem with your staff by that point.
Yeah. I was like, if Bonsai has taught me one thing, it's never to say yes to a man like you.
A lot of time to think, Bonsai.
And this, to be honest, it's not as hard as beating those bloody twins. Mr. X is massive. Like, he's just sitting there in his chair and he's like, clicks his fingers, and you just have to beat up some more of these like generic punks. And at this point, actually, I should have mentioned we have the best piece of music in the game.
I think it's the best.
I love it. This is my favorite bit. This is like the boss music for every single boss. I think it's called Attack the Barbarian.
Brilliant.
But this is so hype. Yeah, let's do it. Attack the Barbarian. That just like pumps me up. It gets the blood going. I'm like, this is fight time.
Brilliant. Nice. Very good.
I feel like that could be on like if I did your Prodigy compilation of like 91, 92, 93 era stuff, I reckon you'd just go, yeah, it'd slot right in. It's something like really hard and aggressive about it.
Yeah, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So that's it
good.
now. We're at the end of the game.
Yeah, basically, once you've beaten up these scrubs, he gets up and he's bloody massive bloke in a khaki suit with his machine gun.
Oh, yeah, he's got his machine gun, doesn't he?
Yeah, and basically you just have to avoid the bullets.
Can you kick them out of the air, if I remember rightly?
Yeah, if you do a jumping kick, you can kind of like block them and they go ping, 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 ping. Yeah, he kind of like rushes on really fast, which is quite funny because he doesn't seem to have the best mobility. So he's just kind of like, but if he hits you, like you lose like half your energy bar, or he can hit you with the butt of his gun, which is quite nice. But yeah, you basically just batter him however you feel.
Right.
And when he's dead, you get the, for you, the nostalgia of that very iconic ending.
Yeah, which is just like, looking out over the city, walking down the steps, like high-fiving the cop or whatever it is, like doing some like Predator style, Predator Command, or maybe it's Predator, I can't remember, called Command or whatever, style like hand grip.
Yeah.
The cop. Yeah, those are the bits that I remember the most. So this kind of like nice, happy ending, but yeah, with these three ex-cops who have now saved the day.
And this music here is really, really different to anything else in the game. It's a bit like that Japanese city pop stuff. Boom, 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 boom. Really funny, like synth bass on this.
Bit goofy.
Yeah, I really like it though. It kind of like reminds me the whole game. I was just thinking, like you said, it's a bit like a RoboCop kind of vibe. That like the idea of like the whole police has been taken over and the city is just ascending into madness.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, very much of that ilk. Yeah, just anything that's a bit like post-apocalyptic, like Escape from New York was probably another one. Yeah, it's very much of that time, and that's all stuff I love. So it was great. I like it. Like we're talking about. It is a bit the Warriors as well.
Yeah,
it's about Walter Hill. He did Warriors. He did Streets of Fire, which we was talking about at the top of the episode. That influence is definitely there, I feel like, as well, through one way or another. It's a good, fun game, to be honest.
It's more fun playing it, I think, in 2-player. So I haven't played it in 2-player since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to play any games with me.
No, or just see you.
No. This is it. This is my only human contact time, once a week.
Yeah. Still, it's not real human contact.
No, subhuman contact with you.
Yeah, exactly. So I was doing some Streets of Rage 4. I was telling you the other day, and I was like, I have to put this down because I think we're going to have to do this together.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4. But it looked good because it's kind of cell-shaded animation style. And apparently it's a good beat-em-up. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that.
I'm really looking forward to playing that. I think we should do Streets of Rage 2, Streets of Rage 3, and then play it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just said that. Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, like all in one day.
Well, let's see. I don't know if we're that good, but yeah, we can try.
Streets of Rage, obviously hugely successful. Streets of Rage 2 followed pretty quickly, which most people think is a better game. What do you think? Any thoughts on that?
I think it's a better game, though I don't really know why until we get into it.
We'll have to play it and maybe have a chat about it.
Yeah.
Streets of Rage 3, can't remember. I think, did you have that game?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Yeah, I never
Streets of Rage 2 was good, but it wasn't the same as 2. It felt like a little, because we were talking about it before, weren't we? Like, you're an old man. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, an old cyborg man.
Yeah. I'm going to play as this guy.
Yeah, I only ever played it a little bit, probably at yours. So I've got it now. I'm gonna give that a go.
If I remember rightly as well, and I might have got this completely wrong, someone might be really angry out there. I think it was towards the end of the Mega Drive's life as well.
Towards the end, yeah. It came in that, like, when they redesigned and had like a blue spine, the Mega Drive games.
That's right.
It was a bluey.
Yeah, and I think it was, just one of the... So I don't think many people picked it up because they probably moved on to something else by then. But I still liked it. It's the same old shit, really, isn't it? To a degree.
But you can't beat the original. Well, you can. Streets of Rage 2 is better, but you got to say it. You can't beat the original. No. It has got stuff about it that is different to the other games. Like I said, like that special attack, and maybe some of those like scrub enemies being a little bit more challenging in places. But anyway, loved playing this, and probably keep playing it again. Basically, I'm just going to keep cranking up the difficulty and smashing my way through.
Yeah, it's a good one. Have we got any Nerds Corner on this one this week?
Oh, of course, because we have to talk about the soundtrack.
Okay, let's go. Nerds Corner.
In Nerds Corner, here we have Streets of Rage soundtrack on vinyl. I've got a copy. We spoke about the record label a few months ago, Data Discs.
Yeah, check it out if you haven't listened to it already.
Yeah, bloody people loved that episode. They were raving about it online.
Yes,
so Data Discs, basically it's a London-based record label, and they specialise in SEGA game soundtrack reissues. They don't just like take stuff and slap it onto vinyl. They actually like master it properly. And they work in conjunction with SEGA. It's all officially licensed. So this was the first thing they released. This was like their launch title, which makes sense, right? Because there's probably, like I said, an excitement about this soundtrack. It's considered one of the best ever.
Well, yeah, it's good.
And especially of this era. So yeah, I've got one nice like red vinyl. It seems to be like always out of print. But they do a good job of like reprinting it, I think.
Yeah.
So I think there was a pressing, 2019 was the last one. So it's one of those things where like, if you want it, basically like give Data Discs a follow, and at some point they will probably repress it, but they always do it like a different color or slightly different packaging. So people that already have a copy don't feel like they're being jibbed. But they're nice. Like they come with these like, Obi strip type things.
Yeah.
And there's always like really nice artwork. They actually go into the SEGA archives and get like original drawings. So like the front cover's got the kind of like artwork from the like American and UK release, but inside there's like artwork from the original like bare knuckle Japanese issue. And a fun little thing with the vinyl, Sam, is they end both sides on locked grooves.
Doing what?
So I think on the first side, it's the sound of the apple.
Right.
So basically, until you're willing to get up off your arse and go and take the needle off the record, it's just in perpetuity until the end of time, just going. And I can't remember what is on the other side. Some other little soundbite.
Something, right.
But yeah, it's really nice kind of like package, basically. And I also love basically having this on my iPhone.
Yeah.
Put it on the headphones. And just when you're like walking about, just like walking to the shops, or you're drudging home from the station after work. And you're
I take about beating people up.
Yeah, you're like, now I'm not. Now I'm in Streets of Rage. I'm a 21-year-old ex-cop burning with vengeance.
Yeah, it's people like you that I'm scared of when I'm walking home. And what's going through their head.
You're all right most of the time, unless that Attack the Barbarian hits.
Then watch out.
And then I'm like, right, here we go. It's battering time.
Batter up.
Anyway, that is Nerd's Corner. Do we have any reviews?
I don't know. Sorry.
No, neither do I.
Well,
let's forget that then.
Why don't people write in? Tell us what they think, and we'll read it on the next one.
That's a smashing idea.
No, it's good. I enjoyed talking about that one. Yeah, looking forward to doing the others as well. It's a good old fashioned beat 'em up.
Yep. Can't wait to have our Streets of Rage sesh.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it'd be a good one. And
don't eat my meat.
Well, yeah, I'm trying not to, but I do like it when it's on a bone. Dan, next week it's a special episode, isn't it?
Is it? What's so special about
it? For me, it is just because it's one of my favourite movies of all time. Probably, definitely one of my favourite animated movies, if not my favourite animated movie.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
That is a good movie.
That is good, isn't it?
Did you know with Who Framed Roger Rabbit that the guy who played Roger Rabbit, because he was on the set, like obviously to interact with or whatever and do the lines, he wore a bunny costume to be in the character.
I didn't know that.
A lot of the crew didn't realise that they were gonna like draw over the top, so they thought it was. They were like, this film is going to fucking tank because he looks terrible. Because he's obviously in a shitty bunny costume that he just like put together to get into character. And they thought, yeah, true story. But
it's not that.
It's not that. We're going to be doing Transformers, the movie. Now, not Michael Bay Transformers. We're talking about Transformers, the animated movie back from the 80s. That's what we're doing. And it
Robots
is
in Disguise.
Incredible. It's also the last film that Orson Welles ever did.
Yeah.
Those are one of the many factors that are going to amaze you about this movie. So listen out.
Yeah, if you're a fan of film, you need to see it just for that sole reason, really, don't you?
Yeah. Exactly. But honestly, it's a really great film. So if you can get hold of it and you can check it out, watch it before you listen to the episode, you definitely should, because it's well worth it. And that's it.
Cool. Well, look forward to having that chat next week.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Bye, everyone. Streets of Rage, out.
Bye.
Hey guys, thank you for listening to Oddcast Movies, Music and Gaming. If you want to get in touch with us or get a movie, album or game put on our list to discuss, then email us at oddcastoddballs@gmail.com or a newwinterpodcast@gmail.com. This is part of a New Winter Podcast network, so head on over to anewwinter.net to check out our other shows. You can also follow us on Instagram at A New Winter, Twitter at A New Winter, and you can head on over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/anewwinter. Thanks for listening and see you again soon.